All right, welcome to Sisterhood Check-In. I am your host, Nadira Lewis. It is Friday at 10 p.m., and I'm so grateful that you have taken your Friday out to join us. We have an awesome show for you tonight. I cannot wait for you to hear from my guest, Shanetta Russ. She is here, anxiously waiting, nervous, but we're going to get through this. We're going to allow God to just use her and allow her to share with us her testimony on what God is doing in her life. But before we do that, I want to go in and read this scripture to you guys. I hope you guys have had a wonderful week. It's the start of a weekend, so you get to start all over on Saturday and get to prepare for the new week, but it's still embrace this weekend. So if you have your Bibles, go with me to Joshua chapter 1, verse 9. It says, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous." This is be strong and courageous. "Do not be frightened and do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." And I want you to know that no matter what you are going through, trust the process. We live in a day and age where we want everything to happen right now. We want things to happen immediately. If things are not going right in our personal life, in our marriage, in our single life, as a parent, as a business owner, we tend to get discouraged and we get frustrated. But I want to encourage you tonight to be strong and courageous, and that you just wait on God. Trust the process. It will get better. Trust me. Everything happens in God's timing. Just wait on God, be of good courage, and watch God move on your behalf. And before I go and enter our guest, again, I want to thank you all for joining us. Watch this quick video, and we'll get right in and to introducing our guests.
Are you a woman in need of wisdom? Do you sometimes battle with separating who you are now versus who you feel like you ought to be? Do you question God's plan for your life? Is there a sense of uncertainty in the areas of choosing healthy relationships? Hi, I'm Nadira, your life and impact coach. In becoming a woman of Proverbs, it is my desire to help you grow into the woman that God has designed you to be. We offer short videos with moments of wisdom for any circumstance using the Word of God. No matter what it is, we are here for you. Make sure you download the app today.
All right. Without further ado, let me introduce. Would you guys give a warm welcome to my guest, Shanetta Russ? Hi, Shanetta.
Hello.
How are you?
Okay.
You look good.
Thank you. Thank you.
I
If
love to
only you
see you
could have been.
smile. Huh?
I said, if only you could have saw me like that.
That's okay. It's Friday night. It's Friday night. I know you probably, where's that beautiful baby? I know she's got to be
She
somewhere
is
close.
asleep.
Nice. She's so beautiful, Shanetta. She's so
Thank you
beautiful.
so much. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for accepting my invitation to Sisterhood Check-In.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
know I know this is probably new to you, but I'm pulling you out of your comfort zone, girl. Pulling you out of your comfort zone. I'm really glad to really have this opportunity to talk to you, because the last time we talked, Shanetta, may have been maybe 9 years ago. It's a long time.
2013, I think.
2013. So what, about 7 years ago?
Yep.
About 7 years ago. It's a long time. A lot has happened in 7 years.
Yeah. A whole lot has happened in 7 years.
Yes. So Shanetta, help us understand how you got to this point. Talk to us about you. What have you been up to? Tell me some of the things that you're doing right now.
Some of the things that I'm doing right now. Um, so I have a family. I'm married. I've been married for 4 years.
Wow.
I have a 9-month-old daughter. I work a normal job as everybody else.
Story of our lives, right?
Yeah, just holding it here by the grace of God. Literally by the grace of God. We're active in many. Um, it's pretty much what I do.
Awesome. Shanetta, you've gone through a lot. I've known you for, like I said, 7 years, and you've always been this bright, smiling, humble person, just light up the room no matter where you go. Talk to us about some of the things that you have gone through behind that smile. Talk to us about some of your experiences and the things that have tried to distract and destroy that beautiful smile that we see right now. Talk to us about that.
So, growing up, I single parent home. It was just my mom, myself, and my brother growing up. Um, most of the time, so I spent a whole lot of time alone. Um, Loved me. She loved me and my brother. Did everything that she could in her power to the best that she could. But there was some dysfunction there. Um, and as I got older, within myself, I realized that I didn't be, I guess, a part of what I saw in our home. I wanted something better. So I decided to run away, so to speak, and create a life of, didn't know, running away from like the dysfunction, that it was just going to go with it. I was dysfunctional. I grew up and I was dysfunctional also. So I ran from the life that I knew to create something else. And I ended up taking all of that with me. And it tried to destroy me. It tried to destroy me. Um, so I come from a spiritual pastors. I grew up in the church, but I ran all of was around me to create something for myself, and I ended up getting married. I'm in my second marriage. Ended up getting married to someone. We hadn't known each other very long. We were probably maybe 3 months, and we just one day decided we're gonna get married. Ran off, got married. It really, really hurt me that I would do something like that because I was the baby. I
Mhm.
was the one that everybody, I guess, more from, and I guess they didn't know that I had those type of desires, and that okay, she's just gonna run away and just do her own thing like this. So it broke everybody. Um,
Mm.
got married, and very soon realized that okay, wait a minute, something wrong. Something's not. It's not. We're not happy. Things are all over the place, and um, a long story short, there was abuse, and I don't want to say okay, I mean, it was abusive. If the truth be told, I was abusive too because I was just, I didn't know how to deal with everything that was coming out of me. I didn't even realize that all of that stuff was, so I'm negatively affected. And it really, really took us to a dark, dark, dark place. And that's during the time when I met you,
Mhm.
Nadir, husband, Firebird, and
Mhm.
Pastor Craig, and everybody. And you guys were like the light in that like time
Mhm.
because I had ran away, I guess, what I was ready to do right. So you guys were that only connection to, I guess, stability that I could see around me. Um, there was no way, there was no way I was gonna go back to my family and ask for help because I ran away. I'm not gonna go back around them to seek out any kind of or anything, but you guys were like the voice of God in that season of my life. That, and I'm trying to um,
I want you
straight
to
off.
take your time. I want you to take your time, take a deep breath. I want you to slow down because we're not in a rush. And I know this is tough for you. I know this is not easy for you, but I want you to also know that sometimes we can be in a place where we can become content with not really holding on to our experiences and creating a safe zone so that nobody comes in and then we don't allow people in and we don't go out. So I want you to take your time, and I want you to take me back to that place in your life. And I want to know what happened to you emotionally. I want to know what happened to you physically, spiritually, because somebody might be watching. It's easy to get into the surface parts of the things that we go through because it's the easiest part, because we want to just breeze through. We just want to get through it. Hurry up, just get me through it. But I want you to take the time, and not only just so that I want you to remember, because in remembering you can see where God brought you through. And it's that process that people look at and what people gravitate to and they hold on to, even though you may not see it. They feel it, they know it. So take your time, take us back to that moment in your life, one moment at a time.
Okay, so I'll go back to the church, and like I said before, I was the baby to kind of paint. I was the baby of the family, and I served in the church, sang on the praise team. I did other things in the ministry,
Mhm.
and I ran with this guy that nobody really knew, and I just ran away one day, and I loved the Lord. Like, I love the Lord,
Mhm.
and it was like it was like I felt like I was doing the right thing. I
Mhm.
didn't believe I'm doing something wrong. Like, well,
Mhm.
my family just don't understand. I know what I'm doing. The Lord knows. We good.
Mhm.
We got this. That's what it was like.
Mhm.
And the whole while through, who knew me or anybody that was close to me in that season of my life, that I really did believe that I was doing a right thing. I was doing a God thing, so to speak. And so to really get, I guess, as time went on, it started to, um, I became more lost, like as time went on, and more lost. And that I thought I had, eventually I realized that I really didn't have it. I didn't know, I didn't know whether I was going or coming. Like, I was, I didn't know anything about being a wife. I had no idea what marriage was about. And I realized that I was really just running. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I really didn't. And I remember getting up in the middle of the night and just going in the and praying. And I believe God that He would take me and this marriage to a place that where we could both be used by God and where we could be effective for His kingdom. And I would get up every morning and pray, and it seemed like it got darker and darker and darker. Like, it was to a point where all day in the bedroom, and he would be doing whatever he was doing, and he would have to beg me to come out of the room to spend time with him or whatever. It was it was it was pretty bad. I didn't know how to even involved with a man to even just let him in to. I didn't know what being a wife was even about.
Yeah.
So I believe I put him to a place where he lost it. He believed that I was one thing, this little angel, and I wasn't that. And I believe that like destroyed him and started to do all types of things. And I don't want to make it seem like, oh, he's this bad person. I believe that this dysfunction that I bought those things. It contributed significantly to those things. And it really caused us to spiral down. From having um, having them go out and sleep around or whatever to um, another woman pregnant, all were married, um, and we had a son. Am I going too fast?
No, no, you're good.
Okay, so
You're good.
we had a son, and in the course of all of this, he was physically abused. And it's a scenario where I won't say a scenario, but he was abused, and I knew about it. And I tried to hide it because I really didn't. It is, I really didn't want to go back home to what I thought was all this and all of this bad stuff. I didn't want to go back home, so I told myself, well, my family. I'm gonna do what is right for my family, and I'm not gonna not gonna call the police on him or whatever. And I'm gonna take my son and um, let our aunt watch him and give him a break so that he won't have to, have to deal with crying or whatever. And that's what I did. For a while, he didn't watch the baby. Our aunt would have him while I was away at work or while he was at work or whatever. Our son would be with our aunt. And so this is where I really don't like to go. But so on this particular day, when I came back home, and we stayed like in these apartments, and my husband was outside, and he was doing something. Where was the baby? He kind of brushed me off or whatever, and he didn't say much. And I'm like, and I walk in the house, and so I'm assuming the baby's sleeping or whatever. Sitting in my son, he's sitting in the bouncer, and he's all wrapped up in his blanket, and there's visibly these marks on him. Visible, like I can see the marks. There's
Mhm.
a mark under his eye, um, and a couple other marks on his body. And as I go to touch him, and he's waking up, like he's acting like he's in pain, like he's moving and squirming. You know, your baby. You know when
Mhm.
something's
Mhm.
not right. So I'm looking like, wait a minute, what's wrong? Like, what happened? And by that time, um, my husband had come into the room, and I'm asking him, what did you do? Because it's visible that something has happened. Like he done something, and I could just looking back at it, I wish I would have responded differently. But made it more about me than I did my son, and that's
Mm,
the biggest regret from that moment. I made it more about me. It was about me. It wasn't about his health. It wasn't about none of that. It was about me.
mm. And what do you mean when you say you made it about you? What
So
do you mean by
instead of taking him and calling the police, I even had to take that route. I could have just called a cousin or aunt and said, "Hey, take me to the hospital. Something's wrong with my baby. I got to go see about him." And that's not. I didn't even. That's not what I did. I didn't do anything as far as going to see. Let me go see if he's okay. If he got some type of head injury. I don't know. I didn't even go see because I wanted to make sure I that I kept myself safe. I wanted to
that?
keep myself safe. I didn't want to push him away to where he would leave because that's what he was saying. Well, you know what? I'm just gonna leave, and my comment was, okay, so you're just gonna leave me to take care of this by myself. That was my comment. So that's my biggest regret from that is there's so many different things I could have done in that moment to just get him the help that he needed, and I would have had him today. I would have had him with me today.
So talk to us about what happened, because when you said I would have had him today, for somebody who may be watching that may not know your story, what do you mean by you would have him today? You want to talk about what happened with your son and
Okay, so from that scenario, like I said, I shouldn't say scenario. From that event, I started to leave my son. His name is Raj. I started to leave him with our aunt while I was away at work, and that lasted for a while. And then my husband got to a point where he felt like, well, I can handle the baby, just leave him with me. Everything's cool. And for some time, everything was fine. And this one particular day, I went to go meet one of the other sisters in the ministry at Walmart. And I'm like, okay, I just fed him. I just laid him down, and I was breastfeeding. I just laid him down. He's sleeping. I'll be right back. And I wasn't gone. I probably may have been gone about an hour. And I got a call on my phone that, hey, babe, something's going on with the baby. We're taking him to the emergency room. And I'm thinking, okay. I'm not thinking, okay, you've heard him, he lying at the point of death. I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking, okay,
I can't see your face in the camera.
okay, I'm sorry. I'm thinking, well, it's not it's not that you've abused them again. It's just something normal going on. So I'm
Mhm.
not in panic. So I called somebody to take me to the hospital where they were. And when I got to the hospital, um, my son was coming by on a stretcher. He's 2 months.
Mhm.
He was
Wow.
by on the stretcher, and he was unconscious. He was
Wow.
unconscious. And some detectives, I didn't realize that he was a detective at that moment, but they had us go back in the room. By that time, my husband's there too. They had us go back in his room, and they just had us sitting for a minute. And you got nurses and people running all around the hospital. I didn't think, I guess that just shows the state of mind that I was in, because I'm not thinking, okay, of course, something's wrong, but I'm not thinking, okay, that what's about to take place, that it's really about to take place. So, um, while we're sitting in this room, Um, and I can't quite remember how it happened,
But before you go into take to talking about what took place, we're going to take a 30-second commercial break so that you can take a deep breath, gather your thoughts to be able to share with us in the second half what that was like, because I know this is hard for you, and I know going back to that place brings back old feelings, old feelings of defeat, frustration, fear, anxiety. So I want to take a moment to give you a moment to brace yourself for the next part, because and if this is your first time tuning in, this is my guest Shanetta Russ, and she is sharing with us her testimony of what she went through with her previous husband and their new baby, and she's going to share with us in after we take our break. She's going to share with us exactly what took place, which pretty much changed her life from that moment. So I want you to stay with us and take, we're going to show a quick commercial break, and Shanetta will be back in 30 seconds. Welcome back to Sisterhood Check In with my special guest, Shanetta L. Russ. Shanetta had, in the first part of our program, Shanetta was talking about, she started to talk about her life with her first husband and her first son, Raj. And she's going to go into the second part where she describes what happened to her in this part that will ultimately change her life in ways that she was not prepared or had no idea was coming or heading her way. So Shanetta, talk to us. You said you're in the hospital. They bring your baby on a stretcher. I can't imagine what was going through your mind. Like, huh? What? Like, finish telling us about what happened. You said they brought the baby out in a stretcher and the detective brought you back in the room. Continue to tell us
they
about what
brought me
happened.
back. So they brought us back into a room, and I remember asking me what my last name was, because I don't think he believed that me and my husband were actually. And he was asking, okay, what's your last name? And I was telling him my name because technically I had your name, but we were married.
Yeah.
And I was saying, my last name's Pinkney. And he was like, well, as you move forward, in so many words, he was saying, you want to make sure that you and say Pinkney Williams, because that was the married last name. So to no, he actually escorted us to questioned, and
Slide your camera over some a little bit so I can see your face. Okay.
so they escorted us to a question, and I'm missing a point because I don't remember how we got to the jail, but that's what we were questioned, and there was a Caucasian woman asking questions, and she was like, "Well, have you used the baby?" Just asking me a bunch of different questions, and I'm lying. I'm like, "No, nothing like that has ever happened," and blah 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 blah. And then she starts telling me about X-rays. Starts
Mm.
to tell me about old bruises that they found, and then she starts to tell me about what happened, the they just received, and and then I wrote. I'm like, okay, I knew about this pretty where he was abused, and I didn't say anything, and somewhere in there she left the room. Um, She hadn't been for a while, and I'm thinking I just don't want to be alone. Like I don't want. I'm thinking in my mind, everything's. They're not about to charge me, send me to jail. I'm going home. I told the truth. So she came back in, and she was talking, and she was like, he anything. He confessed that he, had done it or however she worded it. And she was like, but we're taking you down too because you.
Mm.
And I'm like, what? Like, going to jail was something like, it was horrifying. It was a mixture of the fear
They're
that,
saying that they said that you're breaking up pretty bad. So I want you to try as much as possible to as you're talking and see if try to put your headphones again and see if that works. If that doesn't, then we'll just continue and we'll just try to, or it could be your volume too. Maybe it's your volume. Try to turn your volume down just a little bit. Because sometimes with the speaker, it picks up every bit of feedback. And so sometimes if you turn the volume down a little bit, that helps too.
okay, is this better?
That's much better.
Okay. So, so I had no idea that I was going to jail. And I was saying jail was, it was terrifying. It was
Mm,
it was terrifying. Dealing with the fear of what's gonna happen. I die. Like, okay, I got this my son hospital and he's hurt. I can't be with him. So that's going on in my mind. It's the torment of the guards calling your name. When
mm.
they call your name, what are they gonna say? What's the message that they're gonna? So I was on edge. Just I can say I was on edge. Um, I was terrified. I was terrified. I really was.
So just for those that weren't able to hear you, I just want to kind of reiterate what you had said, just in case they missed a part in that little short break where there was some feedback. Basically, they had come to the hospital, they had questioned you separately, I'm assuming. And after they begin to question you, then that's when he admitted to the physical abuse.
Mhm.
And then they came and said, now they not only did they arrest him, they came and they arrested you too. And then you were both in jail, and you started to feel fearful because the reality started to set in that you're in jail, and you became very fearful because the guards were there and you didn't know exactly what to expect. You didn't know what they were going to do, what they were going to say, because I'm assuming this is your first time in jail. I know exactly how that feels. It's terrifying, when you've never been in jail before for whatever reason. You that fear of, oh my God, what they're going to do, what they're going to say. So I definitely understand that fear of being behind bars. After you wind up being in jail and having to be faced with charges of abuse, what was going through your mind? What was happening?
Um, what was going through my mind? So, so there's this fear that what's gonna happen to my son.
Hmm.
There was a would come back and forth to kind of update me with his condition and how he was doing or whatever. And she sometimes she would years. And she showed me how he looked laying in the bed, how he looked with all these different tubes and
Mm.
really, really honest. Like I was numb. Like I didn't even know how to respond, how
Mm.
to express what I was feeling. Like I didn't know how to show that, how to express to her what it was inside of me. I didn't know. So to her it looked like you don't care about your baby.
Mm.
You don't care about, him at all. And I guess to anybody on the outside, that's how it looked. It looked like I really didn't care. Like it didn't matter at all to me, but it did. Um, so in that place, it was like a sink or swim kind of thing. It was either lose your mind
Mm-hmm.
or go back to where you came from, go back to the place where you grew up learning that God, whatever situation you were in, you grew up like that. You could praise your that
At that moment, did you
God
feel
doesn't.
like, as at that moment when you said you were at a pivotal point where you felt like you were going to sink or swim? Did that, when you said you want go back, or were you from are you are help us understand what that means? Mean, you said that you where you could praise your way. Did you feel like you could praise your way out of that? Did you feel like if I come before you, God, and I do what I normally do in my walk with you whenever I don't know what's going on, is praise my way? Did you feel, because I know sometimes with the enemy, what he does is when we start to grow and in our walk with God, and we get to a place where we feel like we trust him to work out things in our life that we don't quite understand. Sometimes the enemy has a way of coming in and saying, he's not listening to you. You see what you
Right.
did? He's not going to forgive you for that. And it'll almost get you to a point to where you feel like I can't really praise, because I feel like when I want to lift my hands, I feel like the guilt of what I'm going through is making my hands go down and making me feel like I don't deserve to lift my hands. And what people don't understand is when we pray, you're not necessarily praising as a way to ignore the circumstances that are taking place. Praise to the believer is a way that we kind of get help us to help lift us out, so that we can come to a point to where we can be able to function,
Or where we can handle it.
where we can handle it. And I think that's the misconception, because some people think, well, that doesn't make sense. How are you going to praise your way out? You can't praise your way out of that. Because to the believer, praise our way out is not excuse our way out. It's our way of shifting our mindset to focus, because the Bible says he will keep your mind in perfect peace when your mind is stayed on him. And he didn't say if only if this happens, or only if that happens, or if the circumstance is right. It's just a clear instructions. He will keep you in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on him. So most people don't understand, as believers, the fight to keep your mind on him sometimes require you singing and praising to shift your mindset at a point so that we can cope with the reality of what's going on. Would you say that's how you felt?
Yeah, that's dead on. Um, to be honest, while I was in jail, I can myself to really have faith that everything was gonna work out as far as me getting my son back. It was to a place where I could have peace, where I could not be tormented within. I knew I had messed up. I lied, came coming in, saying that I didn't know anything about the I did it. I'm like, okay, I know I messed up. Now I just want to get to a place where I can move forward. I felt already felt within myself that I had messed up so bad that I didn't really deserve to have him back. And that's how it turned out. Part of me wanted him back, but I didn't feel like I deserved it. And then there was another selfish side of me that just said to, okay, Lord, just help me fix all of this. Just put it back together. In my little green mind, I'm thinking, okay, I messed up, but help me fix it.
And what did God do in that moment? And see, you say, I hear you say, selfish, and it is, and I look at it as survival, because when we go into survival mode, we're kind of fighting to just hold on, fighting to just grasp the reality in the moment. So you went into survival mode just to be able to cope with the reality of everything that was happening in that moment, which is so amazing because no matter what we go through, you were young. And when you're young, there's a certain sense of um naiveness that comes with being young. We don't really understand, especially being young, being a parent. When you're young, you're at the age you feel like you got life figured out as much as you can, because you were what, like 21, 20,
22.
22. So when you're at that age, at that mind frame, you're just tipping into adulthood. And so you've not only just tipped into adulthood, you now are into adulthood as a parent and now as a wife, and you're trying to figure out life, trying to figure this all out. And now at the same time that you're trying to figure this all out, now you're having to face the reality of, one, I'm in jail because I lied about what happened. And now I don't know what happened to my son. Now I don't know if I feel like I deserve to even have them back. How did this whole situation strengthen, if it has, your relationship with God? How did it affect your faith?
Well, I couldn't see it then. I couldn't see it at all then. And I don't think God looks at what you necessarily deserve. He doesn't look at the things that maybe I don't know. But in spite of all of that, God gave a chance. And I tell anybody that if you mess up, don't give up, because He can give you another chance.
And what does that another chance look like for Shanetta?
Well, for me, he gave me a chance at being a mom. He gave me another
And he
chance
gave you
at,
another shot at being married. You remarried.
and he gave me another chance at being a wife. And to be completely honest, he knew that on my own I could. So he surrounded me with people who would help me and who would be who would be exactly what I needed them to be.
When I heard that you were getting married again, and I saw your pictures on Facebook, I cried because I knew when we were having our Bible studies, and I began to watch you as a young lady, watching you smile, watching you just consume the word of God, watching you just just enjoying just the simplicity of life at just such a young age was very, oh gosh, it was just It was beautiful. And being and knowing this situation and the circumstances that surround it, because I know you probably had a lot of people that were saying she doesn't, when you got married, she doesn't deserve another chance.
Right.
She doesn't deserve it. Look what they did to look what she did to her son. Look what they did to her son. She doesn't deserve, because Satan is the accuser of the brethren. And it doesn't mean that because we go through things, we do have to become accountable for our actions and the things that we do here on earth. But I think it's important to have that support system so that you can be able to help, be able to, when you get to those moments where you feel like, I can't get out of this, I can't pull myself out of this. It's the system with people around you to say, you know what, day at a time, one moment at a time. We can get through this one day at a time. Let's get together. Let's get up out of bed. Let's get up, get dressed, open up the windows. Come on, let's go outside. Come on, let's go. Let's go pray. Let's go. Come on, you got to eat, because I can't even imagine being in a situation like that where you don't feel like a sense of, I mean, you said you felt numb, which I think is a part of just, again, a survival mode, just being able to cope with everything that's going around you, going on with all the situations and circumstances that are surrounding this event. How, I know when you look at your daughter Rain now, what goes through your mind when you look at that beautiful little girl and you see, because I tell y'all, your husband posts more pictures of him and Rain, and I say to myself, well, where's Shanetta? He
I
is
don't like to
so, I
take
can
pictures.
tell that he is so proud to be able
Yes.
to have Rain. And I don't get to see you that much on Facebook, because you've always been the behind the scenes type person. How are you coping today as a result of everything that has happened? How are you really? How are you coping today?
So, it's funny. Am I allowed to call names?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So, in the
yeah.
midst of this, like, going to court,
Mm-hmm.
the process of having my parental rights terminated and all that, Pastor Craig was actually, like, I think he was at every hearing or whatever that we had.
Pastor Craig is just like that secret. I call him like the
Listen,
undercover minister. He's the undercover pastor that's gonna pop up in places.
yeah, wherever
He's
you
always
at,
been
yeah,
that behind the scenes type. I don't want any credit. I don't want it. Don't.
yeah,
And he means that genuinely, because he's like that. He's that guy that goes in when everybody else is gone. He's that one to come in and say, "God got you." God, it's gonna
mhm.
work out. His presence just makes you feel like, man, everything
I
gonna be
can
all
do
right.
this. It's gonna be all
It's
right.
gonna
Yeah,
be all right. And it's awesome when you have support systems where people come around you, and not that they're not realistic with you with the reality, because you need both. You need people to tell you the truth and say, well, this happened. And as a
right.
result of that, you are going to have to face this because of your actions. But at the same time, and I always talk about that balance of having both, having somebody, you need the truth, because the truth sets you free. you
Oh
you
yeah,
we have to understand that we will be accountable for our actions, but at the same time, we also need to know that God is an ever-present help
yeah.
in the time of need, and that it doesn't matter, there's nothing that we can do on earth that can cause us to be plucked out of his hand. And that if we go to, the Bible said those that are seeking God are the ones being sought by God. So God doesn't see us the way people do. People cut us off when they're done. You know, God doesn't cut us off, because he knows our very makeup. He knows the things that he knows, what formulates our thought process. He knows us inside and out. We can't hide anything from him. And he's the best person to take to bring all your pieces of your broken heart, and he can take them and read and refix it and reshape it and give you a whole nother story and give you a whole new heart, you know, a healed heart, so that you can be able to function where you are today. How has this whole because it's been some years now. Are you have you been able to have any type of contact or relationship? Are you allowed to have any type of contact or relationship with your son? or has that chapter been closed for this season and you're just waiting for God to just work things out in that situation? Tell me a little bit about where you are in that. Because
Okay.
because he's your ex-husband is still in jail, right?
Right.
Okay. So you were able to come out. You were able to, what happened? Why did they what happened in that time frame? I know we kind of skipped ahead a little bit. And there's a reason why I did that, because sometimes in telling our stories, you sometimes have to go forward to be encouraged so that you can go back and continue. So what was that? What happened after you were in jail? What led to you coming out, and what happened in that time frame?
So during the I guess like the hearing, in order for me to, I had to, number one, plead guilty and say that I was guilty of child neglect, which I
Mhm.
was. And of me getting out where I couldn't have any contact with my husband then now, um, and that I had to do or 3 to 5 years, which included me not having any contact with him,
You had
any
to do
contact.
3 to I'm sorry, you blanked out for a minute. You said you had to do 3 to 5 years
3 to 5 years of probation,
of probation. Okay.
which ended up being 5 years of probation.
Uh-huh.
And once I completed that, I was able to, I guess, I won't say close, because I still couldn't, I still don't have any contact with my until God does, or is that's the way it is.
Mhm.
I've actually tried to find where he was, but it's closed. Like I can't find anything concerning him.
And that might be for legal reasons, for his protection. They might feel
Right.
and sometimes it just, you need that season, though you may feel like you're in a place now where you feel like some time has passed. You have to allow God things to happen in God's terms, sometimes in God's timing. Sometimes you have to just take some time and you have to get healed. What have you been doing? What are some of the support systems you have in place? What are some of your support systems that you have in place to help you get through, or that have been there to help you get through something? Is I mean, because I can't even imagine day to day what you have gone through before you started your new life, and with married and having a new baby. You never forget, but I'm sure during that season of just being alone, you had some struggles with dealing with the reality of it. What was that like for you
Like
after the process is done? Talk to us about
so
what you went through and what you
getting out
did.
of jail. I'm sorry. So getting out of jail, like so to explain it, it's more like I had finally adjusted to being able to, I guess, survive in jail, and I found like my connection to God. Like, okay, I got my peace back. I'm not that I'm totally okay, but at least close to Him. Now I'm talk to Him. He can use me while I'm here in the jail, and I think that created like some comfort for me, because before I got locked up, like, okay, I'm out with, know, so to speak. I feel like I'm kind of doing what the Lord wants me to do. I got to jail and I got to that place where He could use me to help other people. I feel like, yes, me and God good again. And then when I got out of jail, like hitting rock bottom all over again. And I remember, because I went from the jail to my mom, and in my mind, I'm thinking, I cannot go back home. And I remember stopping at a park on the way to her house. I sat like on the sidewalk, and I want to go back. I didn't want to go back. And for a long time, if anybody saw me, they would assume that I was homeless. I was always in a duffel bag with clothes in it, and it looked like I was homeless. But I had actually two sets of houses, to my mom's house, because they were both like, well, if she can't come over there to you, I'll come over there, just I guess trying to keep me comfortable. I would literally wander the streets, leaving jail, leaving, I guess, the place where I had found again, and going back home. It had me in a place where I couldn't go back home to the people that I was ashamed. I couldn't. It was like I couldn't face them. So I was always out. It would be all times of night. Some days I would just ride the bus like all day. I was ride the city bus all day, Nadir, like all day
Wow.
long.
Wow.
Um, One day I was on the city bus, and the young lady met me, and she had a big old smile on her face, and she was like, "Hey, I know this really awesome ministry, this amazing pastor. She's a female pastor. And you'd enjoy it." I'm like, "Dude, I ain't doing nothing else. Why not?" So I came and did that service. It was a Sunday morning, and like the worship was so high and it was so like thick. Like people talk about the glory cloud and all of that stuff. I never seen it. I can feel it though. And it was so thick and so heavy and it was so free. And
Mm-hmm.
I had like was being able to worship God, to connect with him, feel like at peace. So all I did, I would probably ride the bus, read the Bible, and
Mm-hmm.
worship. And that's what really pulled me into the ministry. And it was this really sweet pastor, Pastor Michelle. She took me under her wing and she just loved me.
Mm.
And God let her become everything that I needed. Punk, I don't cry a lot.
It's okay. It's okay.
He let her become everything I needed. She was a counselor.
Mm.
She was the mother figure. She was everything that I needed. And to her, God enabled me to the pain, the stuff that I was bearing, the stuff that I would have never done
Mm-hmm.
as related to my
Mm-hmm.
son and all that happened. He needed me to deal with and be honest with myself about the role that I played
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because I was blaming my ex. Everything was his fault. It was all on him.
Mm-hmm.
And through her, I was able to face the fact that, you know what, I played a role
Mm-hmm.
that was, I played a role. And as time went on,
What did the reality of knowing that and confessing that do for you? Did it provide some sense of release? What did that do for you? Being able to verbalize, I played a part in this. How did that, what did that do for you?
I mean, it freed me up a little bit to be able to move. If I'm bitter, I can't move on.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm just mad, he did this to me, I can't really move on.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can say, well, you know what, you did your part, but I did mine too, I can kind of let go. And I can forgive and say, you know what, I got to forgive myself, but I got
Right. And that's the hardest thing, because when we go through things, the hardest part is forgiving yourself. We know we can hear and we can accept, okay, God may have forgiven me. But when it comes to forgiving yourself, that shows up in so many ways, because we avoid the reality of it by not, especially when talking about it, we kind of like shy away from it, because it's something about being able to get to the point to say, you know what, I confess, this has happened, or I acknowledge my part in that. That's when real healing comes in, because most of the time as Christians we think, well, I just run to God. But running to God, you should run to God, but there should also be a point where of reflection, where and that will come in your, especially if you're seeking him and you're spending and you're desiring him. He will get you, if you truly wholeheartedly go after the heart of God. He will at some point allow you to see and reflect and see where you played your part, because that's where the healing starts. Because once you can accept your part in it, then the enemy can no longer beat you down and say, because the enemy, there's something about that secrets, as long as we have those internal secrets, it'll kill us. Secrets will kill us. And those secrets could be anything. It could be denial. It could be lying. It could be anything. Secrets will destroy you. And the Bible said that God desires truth on the inward parts. The truth, being able to confess and say where you are in that situation, does something to the inward man. It does something to you spiritually. It does something to you, emotionally. And it causes you to grasp the reality that, yes, this has happened. Now, God, where do I go from here? And I want to read this to you before you continue, before we take our break. I want to read this to you in Luke chapter 22, where Jesus is talking to Peter. And he said, Simon, Simon, indeed, Satan has asked for you that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for you that your faith shall not fail. And when you have returned to me, strengthen your brethren. And I say that when you get to the point where you decide to walk with God, Satan's desire to destroy you is a eternal thing. And as you go through different things and as we experience different things, the same thing that Jesus says to Peter is his same desire for us. He prays for us. But most importantly, his prayer is specific, that we don't fail in our faith, because faith, you need faith. Faith helps you hold on to the very reality and presence of who God is. He said, but I've prayed for you that your faith doesn't fail. And when you have converted, which means when you have changed, when you have done a 360 turn, when you have awakened to the reality of where you are, and you have gone through the process of healing, go back and strengthen the brethren. And that's what this is about. This broadcast is about being able to talk to women that have gone through different things and different experiences, different pains, and taking us through the healing process. If, as you noticed in the beginning, I wanted to know your process, because the surface stuff about what we go through, that's surface stuff. But when we talk about, I like to talk about the soulish stuff. What happens in the soul? What happens because your soul is made up of your mind, your will, and your emotions. So when we begin to talk about the things that happen internally and how we got through internally, we don't know who is being pulled out of their circumstance. And I believe that's a part of the strengthening the brethren, is being able to go and be transparent and be able to be vulnerable and say, I know what you feel. I know what you feel in terms of being disappointed. I know what you feel in terms of making a mistake that you can't change. I know what it feels in terms of being at a point of despair and not knowing how I'm going to get out of this. We're going to take a quick break to give you a chance to regroup. And I'm going to open up the lines for anybody and we're going to read some of the comments, because Shanetta, we have a ton of comments in regards to your story that I can't wait to read and share with you. We're going to open up the line for anybody that have any questions. If you want to come on, if you want, I'll put the link in the comments where you can actually, come on if you like and share your testimony if you have a similar testimony. But we're going to go into a quick 30-minute break. And Shanetta, we're going to talk about in the last segment your support system and some of the things that you've done to keep yourself. What I want to talk about what you are doing now to keep, because I'm sure that's not something that you just, even though it's been years ago, I'm sure you still battle with it. And I want to talk about some of those things that you have put into place to help you get through day by day. Okay. All right. We'll be back in 30 seconds.
Refugees, dirty immigrants, asylum seekers, job stealers, that is what they see. Beautiful faces, thick accents, a melting pot of culture, holding 3 to 4 jobs, back pocket of hopes and dreams, seekers of opportunities, that is what we see. I am Georgia Lawrence, the founding attorney of Georgia Lawrence LLC. I was born and raised in Jamaica. I migrated to the United States with 2 suitcases and $200 to seek a better life. I understand firsthand the importance of having a fighter on your team to navigate the complexity of the immigration system. Hence the reason I chose immigration and human rights law. Here at Georgia Lawrence LLC, we take pride in connecting our passion and purpose to your plan. Give us a call today.
All right, and we are back with my special guest, Shanetta Russ. She had, if you guys missed it, she had gone into explanation about how she had lost her son and how she went to prison or went to jail for the physical for child neglect and the abuse of her son. And what we're going to talk about, what we've done is I want to go over some of your comments, some of the comments that some of people have left. Christina Stacy says yes. Hi, Christina, how are you? Audrey Hurd says good evening, Sisterhood check-in. Hey, Audrey. She said you were breaking up pretty bad, so we did kind of work on getting those that situated. Tanya Rogers said hello. Hi, Tanya. And she's Audrey said thank you for filling us in. No problem. And she said, we praise to cope. Praise certainly helps us keep your mind on him. That is the truth. And we have Pastor Bernadette Williams. Yes, God is a God of another chance. Amen. Yes, he is a God of another chance. Aren't you grateful that he isn't just a God of just a second chance, but that he knows that, he sometimes we need 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Some of us on our 20th chance. He's not just a God of a numbered chance. He's a God of another chance. Yeah, and Dr. Bernadette Williams said, good support is necessary. It is. You have to have, and that's what we're going to talk about in this segment, talking about your support system. And we're going to talk about once we got a few more comments. Amen. God's unconditional love. We are covered. When we are converted, see, look at that. He expects us to help someone else. So we don't want to, we're going to always be learning. We're going to, as long as we're on this earth, we're going to be going through different things in our lives. But our job is to allow it, to embrace the change that we go through, learn from it, and be able to help other people get through the same thing. Stacy says, good evening. Thank you for your testimony. Hi, Stacy. And she said, God is so forgiving. Yes, he really is. He really is. He is, we all have been to that point in our life where we needed God to forgive us for something. You're going to always do that. As long as you're living, there's going to be something. It takes a sense of humility to ask God to forgive you, because, sometimes we just feel like, oh, well, I'm a Christian. I'm fine. I don't have to do this. When you get to a point where you say, you know what, God, you know what? I'm doing this all wrong. I'm doing life all wrong. I acknowledge my weakness. I acknowledge my need for you. And that's when God can come in and kind of, bring healing to us emotionally. Shanetta, what are some things that you have put into place now? Because some time has passed since this happened. What are you doing? What is your system now? Who is your support system, and what are you doing now as a parent again to deal with? Because I know you're in a new marriage. You're in a blissful marriage. Your husband is,
It's a little
I
bit
don't know him
difficult to
physically,
hear
but
you
I tell
there.
you, I can tell by his spirit. Huh?
I said it's a little bit
What'd you
difficult to
say?
hear. You kind of breaking up. I don't know if it's my
Can you
phone
hear
or
me now?
what.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Talk to us about your support system now. What are you doing? What type of things have you put in place now to help you get through the memories of what has taken place? And what are you doing to cope now? And what are you doing as a new mom to make sure that you can fully embrace your position as a mom again? What are you doing now to cope as being that God is giving you this new opportunity? What are you doing now? Talk to me about that.
Okay, so sometimes when you're a part of a ministry, you can kind of go there and like you can like hide and kind of like blend in to where nobody
Mhm.
don't really see you. You don't have
Mhm.
to be accountable for anyone. But where I am, the ministry, Refresh Ministries, it's I can't do that. So it's a place where I'm accountable to my leaders and where they can see me and where they're involved with uh, whatever's concerning me, whatever I'm dealing with. There, God uses them to help me and to pull me out of it. I'm still in the process. I still got a
I'm
ways to
sure.
go,
I'm
but
sure.
I thank God for them and helping me to get groomed, and as it relates to my daughter and being able to be the best mom that I can be, through counseling with my pastor, it's like, what am I going to put in place to be a better mom than I had? Of course, my mom did her best, but okay, let's take it a step further. Now I've been given another chance. So what am I gonna do to be able to give her better? And I've been learning that I have to be intentional. It's not just gonna happen. I have to put things in place. I have to be put thought into. Okay, no, I'm not gonna let you just if I see something going on, let me deal with it. Okay, transparently. Um, there are some ways of conducting myself that I do, and I'm still walking through, like not being not letting uh, bitterness control me.
Mm,
And
mm.
sometimes I'll see that my daughter is responding in a way that's okay. Wait a minute, you 9 months. Why you got an attitude? Like, what's wrong with you? But it's like, okay, God, help me because I deal with the same thing. So I need you to help me so that I can help my daughter because I can't break it off of her if it's not broken off of me. And that's something that my pastor has helped me identify because that's something I wouldn't have saw on my own. So I'm walking through it.
What are some practical things that maybe you yourself or your ministry have put into place for you as far as accountability? Are you in like any parenting classes? Are you um when you say they hold you accountable, what does that look like? What when you say they hold you accountable? I know you said you've done some counseling. Um what are some
Okay, wait, we're
practical
breaking
things?
up again.
What are some practical things that have been that you or maybe your ministry or have put in place for you to be accountable? When you said they're holding you accountable, what are some practical ways that they've made you accountable? Are you in any type of parenting classes? Are you in any type of programs that are what does that look like? When you say they're holding you accountable, what does that look like?
Well, so it's been a minute since I've taken some parenting classes, but I do something. Uh, the Healthy Start. I'm very active with my Healthy Start nurse, and it's something it's a free service, but it's something that's very useful. Where once a week I talk with a nurse on the phone, and she walks me through different things that I can do, different activities that I can do with my daughter,
Mhm.
different things that I could institute on a daily or weekly basis to help her grow and develop and make sure that she's on track and things like that. So that's something that I do. It's something that's been encouraged and something that's been really, really helpful. Really helpful. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. How does your husband play a role in your process of healing?
Okay, wait, say that again because I didn't hear you.
How does Randall, your husband, play a role, because you're married, like you've remarried? How does Randall play a role
Oh,
in your
wow.
healing process?
So, Randall's actually a big, um, he plays a really big role. So, when we first brought Rain home, I was, to be honest, I was depressed. I was trying to figure out, okay, I got this. Lord, you gave me another baby. Not feeling good enough, not feeling like I was, that I could parent. So all of this stuff is going on in my mind. All of this stuff is going on. And he was there to assure me that I had it, that I was going to be okay, that he was going to be there with me, and
Mm,
that I could do it.
mm,
He let me know that I could do it. Like he assured me that I can be a good mom if I put my best foot forward. So he was there to,
mm,
okay, look, respond to her, open up to her. Don't be afraid to open up to her. And
mhm,
I really thank God for him being there to um, help me be better as a mom.
mm.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, yes, you did. And I want you to know, Shanetta, that and I'm just really grateful that you took the time to really, because I know that you're still in the healing process of this. Um, and I don't know. I mean, I've never been in a situation in terms of losing a child to that degree, but I know that this was a really difficult time for you, which is why when I thought about who my next guest would be, your name just was like like came, and I was just like so excited and just anticipating the opportunity to be able to talk with you and see your process and see how you get through that. And I'm grateful and I'm thankful for you to be able to be open and transparent, to be able to share your experiences. Um, and I know that it has helped some people out there that may have experienced or is facing that same situation. Abuse is, I talk a lot about abuse because when you don't understand, when you take the time to spend on, like I said, when we're little girls, we're taught to be, our desire is we want to be wives, we want to be mothers, but there's not a lot of emphasis on identifying who we are and and developing who we are before we are put or allow ourselves to be put in positions to be mothers and wives. But in any situation, I'm glad that you are now at a point where you are going through the process of healing and that God is giving you a support system, seems to be a pretty good support system to help you through this. What would you say to the mothers that are out there, or it could be any mother that's out there that may be going through what you've gone through? What will be your advice to that mother that is facing the same situation that you're facing or is it going down that road? What would you say to that mother?
That you don't have to be alone. Don't isolate yourself. Don't isolate yourself. It's someone, whether it's your family, there's someone that you can reach out to for help. Don't feel like you got to go through, if you're in the midst of abuse, don't be afraid to say, okay, this is going on, um, or to even reach out for counsel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, something here in this relationship isn't right. We need help. Let's go get some help. Let's go get some godly help. Somebody who's connected to the Lord who can say, okay, this is how God would have you respond. You got to get around that type of counsel.
All right. That support system is amazing because you need people to hold you accountable. But most importantly, you need to know that God is above all, that God's going to hold, that God holds us accountable too. And that though he gives us people in place, that we ultimately at the end of the day have to face him. So that relationship with God we have to be intentional even in our walk with God. We have to be intentional in our growth spiritually. We have to be intentional in our growth, practically, with growing in God and growing in our knowledge and understanding and being able to figure out who we are. I just am so grateful for you to be here. I know we went over a little bit longer, but that's okay. That's okay. I enjoyed you and I appreciate you being able to take time to share that with us. And for everyone that's listening, I want to remind you that we are having, and Shanetta, this is for you also, December 31st, we are doing a virtual New Year's Eve party. Well, we're just going to there's going to be about 7 of us so far is what I have confirmed. Well, we're just going to just take, we're going to be on live at 10 o'clock on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and we're just going to take this year and reflect on the goodness of God. Reflect on, there's so much that has happened in this year that none of us, just like you weren't expecting to go through what you went through when you got married at a young age. We don't know. Some of us have been hit with a ton of bricks this year, and have experienced a lot. So we just want to take the time as women to kind of come together and just take a moment to just thank God for getting us through this year and really just coming together and just seeking him for his will in the next year. And so if you can join in with us on December 31st at 10 p.m., we're going to be live. I would love to have you guys. We're going to take this moment. We're going to have fun. We're going to talk about a whole series of different things, but most importantly, we're going to take this moment to have an attitude of gratitude and just reflect and we just got a bunch of things planned. I can't wait. So Shanetta, if you're not doing anything, we would love for you to join us 10 o'clock. And I'll talk with you more about that. So thank you guys for joining us so much. I appreciate the support. For those of you that may have not gotten to see the whole thing, you can always watch the replay here on Facebook on Becoming a Woman of Proverbs page, or you can look at it on our page. Thank you, Stacy. Stacy said, good evening. Thank you again for your testimony. Thank you, Stacy. We appreciate that. So until next time, remember my thing, I always say, hurt people, but transform people do what? Transform people also. Thank you so much, Shanetta, for joining us. Stay with us after the broadcast. I want to share a few things with you, okay? Yes, ma'am. All righty.
What's going on, guys? It's Daily Trades with Chris here. I'm hosting a 7-day webinar for you to understand how to trade the stock market, futures market, and the Forex market. This one particular trading strategy has 3 steps, okay? Very, 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 very simple. All you have to do is look for a trade, place your trade, and watch your trade play out. In this 7-day webinar, I'm going to be going over exactly how to get into the market, where to get out of the market, where to set your stop loss, take profit, and you're going to have a risk management rule in place too as well. Now, this Z trade, in fact, just dropped 400 points on oil. If you do the math on that, that's about $4,000 just from one contract. If you want to learn how to make $4,000 in one single day with the Z trade, respond back to this email right here. Comment below on this video, and I'll get back to you with all the information that you're looking for.